Yes, good morning and welcome. You're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV. It's that time when you take a look at the headlines. This Friday, we're privileged to have Senator Martha Wangari on my immediate right. Karibu sana, Senator.
Good morning.
Next to the Senator, we have Bwana Peter Kaluma, MP from Homa Bay.
Good morning, brother.
Good to see you. On my left, we have Irongo Kangata, MP Kiharu.
Thank you.
And Albert Kuchei, Speaker Elgeyo Marakwet. Karibuni sana. Now, a quick look at the headlines this morning on the Daily Nation. Governors face lifestyle audit ahead of polls. Now, ESCC says billions meant for development have ended up in the pockets of individuals. Officials who used to live modestly are now millionaires. Yesterday, we saw the governor for Nairobi, Dr. Evans Kidero, at the ESCC being probed for one or two things. I do understand that in Isiolo, anti-corruption officers actually raided the home of the governor and cut away some documents. We'll be discussing that as well. On the front page of the Standard, top school shocker. Alliance made my son lie on founder's grave. Angry father personifies agony of parents whose sons were tortured by bullies. Now, CS Matiang'i has ordered a nationwide probe into bullying as police descend on Alliance High School. We do understand the principal of Alliance High School has been forced to go into retirement, early retirement. From the front page of the Standard as well, we can see that the discipline master, the fate of the discipline master is in limbo as prefects have been demoted and others are being probed. Probably let's start with this story. And as a parent, and I know, Senator, you have sons. Of course, I'm sure you must be hoping, or at some point you are hoping, that they would go to Alliance High School, because I think that's a dream of most parents in Kenya, that your son will go to Alliance High School. Now, when you get such stories, and it's not just Alliance, bullying is across most schools in Kenya. It's only that we never imagined that it could be happening at the topmost school that we have. How does this make you feel?
I think in the Muli, as a parent and as a mother of sons, in fact, it's a horrifying story. You know, every time, even as when we were in school, in Kahuya Girls, always we were compared to Alliance. You are told you want to be like Alliance. It was a top school. It's been a top school. And I think these stories only got a way to just explode. They have been going on, and I know as parents, if you listen to the stories that the parents are giving, you realize that even the fathers, it's something they have heard from their boys.
Yes. But
you think it's normal. When your son comes home and has a torn sweater, you ask, and he says cops were all over me, and someone else says cops are actually prefects. You know, it is a horrifying story. And I think the issues, like we were discussing just before we are on set, the issues of sexual harassment, even in these schools, most go unreported, especially against the boys, because of the stigma that is associated with it. But you can keep seeing them coming up, not just in Alliance. I've seen some online campaign on some of those sexual assault cases in some other schools. So I think what we need to do is really crack down, not just in Alliance. This is just one of the so many that are going on, and I hope the CS will be able to make sure that everyone takes responsibility. If there's bullying in your school, as a principal, as a head teacher, you must take responsibility. You must make it your personal business to ensure that the safety of these kids who have been entrusted to you by very innocent parents has been guaranteed under your watch.
But Peter Kaluma, of course, as I said, it's not just Alliance High School. Even last, I think in January, Citizen TV highlighted a story from Maseno High School as well, where cases of sodomy have been reported. This is rampant. In national high schools, schools the caliber of Alliance and Maseno, of course, it will come out very fast because these are high-profile schools. But there's so many other schools down there where such cases are continuing, but no one can report. Nothing is happening. It just speaks to the kind of rot that's there in our schools. Do you think CS Matiang'i can do something about this? Because it is a cultural thing. It's like a tradition and it's cyclic. If I'm bullied in Form 1, when I get to Form 2, I wait for the new Form 1s and I bully them as well.
If you look at the age of students today, you would imagine bullying ended a long time ago. You know, when I joined, Form 1 at St. Joseph's School, Rapogi, it's one of the best schools in southern Nyanza in Migori County. I found very big people already bearded, and people who are, of course, well beyond age. Remember, the discipline process at Rapogi was so stiff. In fact, if you were found, to have bullied a student, whether from 1 or a student of a junior class, it was automatic, expulsion. No debate at all. You'd go home for 2 weeks, come back with your parents only to be cleared to leave the school for elsewhere. And that ensured there was very high discipline. People respected one another. When you see a situation like what we are seeing in Alliance, what we are seeing in Maseno, there's really a lapse in the schools or institution systems in terms of securing that the students we give are safe. Let me say that when as a parent you give your child to an institution, essentially the teacher, the heads of the institution, take your place to parent those children. So this lapse is a lapse that for which we must have punishment. But let me say that.
So you believe it's right that the teachers should take blame for this?
I believe so. In fact, I don't think they should continue to serve unless they have some good excuse, to say that these gory tales we are reading about Alliance could have happened all that time without their knowledge. How would you not know such a thing? Unless you're just a teacher. Once you leave class you're into sleep. Look at the situation we had at Maseno. How do you have a situation where you take your child to school, then you hear those gory details around your child? It is not acceptable. So me, I would think we must be reminded, even as parents and as heads of institutions or as teachers in institutions, that in as much as our best brains are being taken into these schools to learn, we need also to be reminded always that it is a sample of Kenya.
Yes.
In as much as the brain is there, the character formation is as varied as the society we call Kenya. And so as the person entrusted with the lives of these young people, you must be always alert to ensure that they are not there only to be brought up in character, but also academics.
Yes. Now the issue of prefects, of course, everyone's saying prefects have become very powerful. This is not the first time we're hearing such an instance. Remember the case in Nyeri, where one school students stand against the prefects and actually burnt them inside a dormitory because of the same cases. At that time there was uproar, and I think even National Assembly discussed that issue. There must have been a report, but now that whether that report was implemented or not, no one knows, because we've gone back to the same problem. Prefects are more powerful, or appear to be more powerful even than the teachers themselves.
The current practice, which I think is founded in the law, is that prefects should be elected by the students. So therefore, I am surprised that we have students prefects who appear to be quite detached from the student body. And maybe the principal should answer why these students leaders were not elected by the students, as it is happening in other schools. And to comment on the subject, I would say, one, I find it funny that indeed the bullying was being done by prefects. Normally, from my experience, is usually normal Form 4s who usually conduct bullying. And number two, I don't want to moralize, because I come from a school where bullying was a culture. It is a bad culture, but I can tell you...
it is a culture. It's something that we are made to feel like it's something that we have to go through.
Especially
like me, I recall we used to sing... Okani tori ranire jokane jite negima. That means, to translate, come we cry, Form 1 has been chopped by ugali, but it's not because of the badness of the Form 4, because of the greed of the Form 1. And that is how you are being told to sing. I don't know. It was a culture in our school. It was a bad culture. I think, in fact, when you look at this incident, there are criminal things that have been done. And I would urge the authorities to take action against the principal, the deputy principal, any teacher involved in allowing this thing to fester, and also even the students. They are not beyond law. You have seen people suffering, being maimed, people getting a lot of problems. So to me, I would urge the police to take action. But I also want to say it's not Alliance alone. I went to a high school where bullying was something cool.
Yes.
Really?
Now, Speaker Kuche, of course, what is happening is not new. As Bwana Kangata says, it's a culture. And we're made to believe that we have to go through it. So many students don't report this, even to their parents. It's only probably when it gets to a certain level that you decide now you have to tell your parent, because probably you're walking home in crutches, or you have to be taken to hospital. But this culture and the kind of rot that we're seeing in the education system, Why is it that just now, after CS Matiang'i has come, that we are now getting this renewed sensitivity when it comes to schools? We're seeing exams were being conducted and not in the proper manner. There's bullying. All these things have been there. All of you here, you're saying yes, it's not new. We've all known this. You are legislators, but no one ever spoke about this until now. Last year we saw students burning schools. No one has been taken to court or at least convicted for these crimes.
I think let me begin by saying that let's understand first of all the man Matiang'i. On the basics, one, the man Matiang'i, Dr. Matiang'i is a born again Christian. So some of the things that you're seeing is just God answering prayers to unveil to us the road in the Ministry of Education. That aside, Alliance High School is a school that all of us we've known as a giant of education. Statistics say that they have 1,600 students. 2015, they scored 207 A's. 2016, they scored 214 A's. That could be even one of the reasons why the principal decided to take early retirement at 50. For me, I don't want to say this is bullying. This is clear demonstration of criminality in the school, and I have the following reasons. And like what my friend has said, it is not done by the form force. Ordinarily, bullying is done by the senior students, but this is done by the prefects. You listen to the aura and whatever the students have gone through. They are being asked to swim on class. It doesn't work. They are being woken up at 3 a.m. They are being beaten using electric cables. Some of them are even being asked to go and lie on graveside. It is said again that these prefects were not democratically elected by the students. They were unpicked by the administration. It is said again that the same prefects, when they are doing all these things, it is in the full knowledge of the administration. A case in point, what was covered yesterday, is a student, once he was injured, the administration refused to let the student go home until the stitches healed, until after. That is why I 100% support the move by the Dr. Matiang'i, that those teachers, the discipline master, the watchman at the gate, the principal, all those, and again the chairman of BOM should be able to take personal responsibility for the mess that has affected our children.
Yes.
Finally, it is again exposing to us the kind of transformation, and now that Kaluma is here, the kind of transformation that Jubilee is bringing in our education system. I strongly believe that this is not something that is
how fast absolutely,
no, but Dr. Matiang'i is doing a good job, and he's in the Jubilee government. I mean, we cannot shy away from saying that. And I believe that it's just a pointer of the road that is going on in our universities. Senator Mother said something about all these issues of sexual harassment, the stigma. I can tell you this for free as a parent. There are quite a number of our children that are suffering and dying silently. Yesterday, let me conclude. Yesterday on my Facebook account, I actually highlighted this, and I hyped two things. One, during this afternoon, let every parent interrogate their children. Have time to listen to them. They have horrifying experiences, not only in Halans, in all these other schools,
even in girls' schools.
Absolutely. And I think we really need, as parents, to befriend our children so that they can be able to tell us their stories.
Yes. And but Kaluma, even as you respond to what he said by tying all these things to Jubilee NASA issue, it also speaks to the kind of crime, because this is criminal activity.
Yes.
This is sodomy, sexual assault, and causing actual bodily harm on another person is a crime. So is torching dormitories, so is burning property, so is robbing anyone, even within the school compound. In other jurisdictions, of course, the law is quite clear on, despite your age, in spite of anyone's age, that even if you commit a crime, the law takes its course. In Kenya, that does not seem to be the case. We've seen people rape students. Students rape their colleagues. We've seen them torch buildings. We've seen them destroy property. Now they are sexually abusing their colleagues, causing actual bodily harm on their colleagues, and they go scot-free. Are we not raiding ourselves to get these people into society when they know that, yeah, you can actually commit a crime and go scot-free?
It is a system of law that we have. You know, Fred, I'm not one person who agrees that there should not be some slight, chastisement of students. What for, people who do not know how the education system works, they call corporal punishment. Yeah, because this, to me, I think is the gap the prefects, are imagining they are, stepping into. Or the administration is now using students called, prefects to, chastise other students. That would explain the lethargy. So between the teachers and the prefects doing what it is alleged they did at Alliance. When I came up as a student, I can remember very well the teachers who matter most in my life. The teachers who never spared the rod. In fact, more so in primary education, I can't remember a single teacher who never came to me. Because they never meant well for my life. I remember, very clearly how, teachers took me from standard 6 on mathematics, which is the subject I was weakest in, to being, among the best in the nation in mathematics, to date, despite, deviating into law. As a science student, you had to be caned. And the fear that, you would be caned, not to death, but to put you on the path of excellence and good character, made you, very focused in terms of your studies and your character modeling. Now we have a situation where we collapsed that. Then when you come to the criminal justice system, remember the students you are talking about in the majority are children. So the Children's Act already also has, protections around a person who is underage. How you try them, how you subject them to criminal processes. I can tell you, if the prefects, it's alleged, were, engaging in this, gory bullying tales, are to be taken to court, it is not the ordinary court. Yes. It is what we call Boston institutions. And in those Boston institutions, we are saying, well, you have committed something that by act would amount to a crime, but you are not of the age where you can, come to an informed intent to commit a crime. So you are taken through a system which is, a criminal process, by the way, but it is more correctional and more reform oriented.
Is that the approved schools we hear about?
Yes, there are approved schools, there are Boston institutions all over. Actually, when a child is underage, below 18, anybody who is below 18, you're not allowed to take him or her to, the normal courts where you try.
You've seen quite a number of students being taken before court, although those cases rarely go far. Even last year when they were torching dormitories, we saw a number of students in central Kenya arraigned. But
publicity, remember, one, publicity is not allowed. So in most cases you would see them in court, then they go into camera. They are not permitted media exposure, because you want to work on the character. You don't want to expose the person. If you expose a child, you may destroy that life for eternity, and of course the future of the child. So once exposure of course is limited. Number two, in terms of the punishment regime, there would be more reform and correctional than committee. But by the way, you're not allowed to take them to even penal systems like committee and others. You resile them to institutions where the main focus is reform and character review. So that is why you don't see them exposed. And that ties to what my brother was saying about Matiang'i. These things are not being exposed for the first time. That has just told you it was cool, which is saddening, to say on television, very worrying. But I can tell you, over the years, you saw the Changoli, you saw St. Kisisho, you saw other institutions. In fact, under Matiang'i, we only have had, 2 institutions exposed. I think too much limelight because they are, up there. But we are saying, let us forget about, politics around education. Through education, we establish a future of a society and of this country. We must insist that through education, we remember what Martin Luther King Jr. said, that education is not about you're getting A's in subjects, but really what is the character content you're leaving the institution with? Can you face the world with it?
But I want to say something about, this corporal punishment. When we were growing up on Abukaluma, we would not have cases of someone who has been caned to death. That time I think we were just dealing with same teachers. Same teachers who are more of parents than mentor cases. Because we've seen just recently a 6-year-old who has been beaten to death. We have seen serious bodily harm done by teachers, and I think that is what necessitated the issue of banning of corporal punishment, because we do not want to expose our children to that. But coming back to Honorable Irungu, I don't know where I went to school. Maybe it was in boys' school where it was cool, but I remember myself in Kahuhia Girls. In fact, as a Form 1, you are assigned a caretaker who was a Form 3. We used to call them school moms.
Yes,
they would wash even clothes for you.
Yes.
And that is the culture we grew up with. So if you're taken care of, for me, when I got to Form 3, I already knew I'm expecting a daughter to come in to school. Who will be my responsibility? I will ensure she has eaten. I will ensure she has gone to class. She's not sick. Her clothes are clean. And that is what culture we grew up knowing. But with time, times have changed. But the issue of prefects, and I remember the Nyeri issue happened during our time. I think it was 2000, the year 2000, when the Nyeri case happened. But we had a case of isolation of prefects. They would have special uniforms. They would eat special food. They would have special cubicles to sleep in, and that was a problem. So it was actually reformed, and so many schools are doing it now democratically. You would hear of schools, even your sons or your kids, you hear they now have school governors. They have gone through an election process, because this appointing was a problem. I was a prefect myself, but I didn't have the leeway to actually punish and become a cop, so to say, like police your colleagues. So it is a culture that we must deal with, especially in the boys' schools. Yes. Because I think it is
but I think also,
do you think it's a culture that can actually end? Because you say, to you it appears like it's something that it was normal. You expected it. And probably after you went to a higher level.
I was beaten up.
And probably when you moved to a higher level, you meet at the same...
No. Me, I was peaceful man. No.
But do you think it's a culture in some of the schools that are not as high profile as Alliance and Maseno? Because we understand some of those schools that we don't even know the names. It is quite
first, let me say number one, there is a difference between a boarding school and a day school, and I think it is time we started to strengthen the day schooling system, because some of these things they don't happen in day school incidentally. There is a separate culture that pervades our boarding school, and one includes bullying. So therefore, I don't know how, probably we need to consider strengthening our day schools.
But in boarding schools, do you think it can actually change that
Number
culture?
2, yes, it can. Number 1, we need to strengthen what we call the chaplaincy department. That is where we have a pastor, we have a father, we have the Muslim cleric, so that we build a more strengthened culture of spirituality, a fear of God. And I know in schools where they have a very strong Christian ethic, such things don't happen. I know Alliance is founded on the ethics of PCA Church. I do not know why they still do such things, and I know a strong Christian, yes, because I know a strong Christian school, these things don't happen. So probably we need to do several things. Number 1, we strengthen our Christian ethic. We ensure these children go to church, they go to counseling. I say that because there is a shift, by the way, as we speak, for schools to do away with spirituality. I know some schools where people are being told you cannot choose whether to attend the church service on Sunday or not. To me, I think we need to maintain our religious identity. That's number 1. Number 2, anyone who does these things should be taken to court. These are criminals. They should be, notwithstanding, probably they are not going to be taken to jail, but at least they should face penal consequences as provided for under the law. And number 3, teachers must also take personal responsibility, particularly the principals. I know very good principals who have been able to manage this issue very well. Like in Muranga County, I do not know of any school that has such kind of a culture, but I know of others who appear either to abet or through omission the culture festers.
Okay. Finally, Speaker.
Before the Speaker in the Muli, if the reason the principal took an early retirement was this reason, because we don't know the reason, that must not let him off the hook. If that is the reason he took an early retirement, he must be brought to book. If that is the reason, because we still don't know why he exited early, and the responsibility in terms of these kids who are perpetrating this. And I've said it before, even as a student leader in the university, I say, if you are caught touching someone's car, you take personal responsibility. It does not matter, because I was against that culture. Even in the university, of that you agreed now you stole someone's motor vehicle. You must take a personal responsibility.
And as you wrap up this conversation about bullying, Speaker Kuche, because now the whole country, as we did last year and continue to do when it comes to education matters, we look up to CS Matiang'i. What can CS Matiang'i do in such a case? Because this is really deeply entrenched.
I think I remember I was dining ball captain during my time, and we did quite some good job. I want to say that the school principal of Alliance owes Kenyans a lot of explanation. Just my brother Kaluma has mentioned, these are young children. They are likely to be 14 years, 13 years. Can you imagine a child being forced to go and lie the whole night on a graveyard? How torturous it is. And I think that is extreme that Alliance has gone. And I believe that, let me believe that this is the worst it has reached. What Matiang'i should do is use the school principal, actually the entire management of Alliance, as a good example in terms of punitive punishment to the principal, to the entire administration, and to the BOM, because the BOM will not get out of this. So I would want Matiang'i to use this as a good example to send the message to all other school administration that is not going to be business as usual. We have entrusted our children to you for heaven's sake. I cannot send my child to a school and they come back and they don't have one of their arm. I mean, it can't work. So I believe that Matiang'i has an opportunity to correct it. Finally, I would ask, and of course my friend has captured the issues of spirituality, that is strengthening the chaplaincy, but above all, the issues of prefects. When corporal punishment was removed, I think there is something that we didn't do. We removed that one, but we again sort of didn't replace with something that is going to make our students again remain on the path of excellence and discipline. One of which is issues of counseling, mentorship in our schools. Just the way Senator Mata said, mentorship program, where you have your senior who is assigned to you. But above all, the issues of prefects. Let students have opportunity to be the ones to elect school administration prefects, not to be unpicked by the administration.
Now, in a short while, we'll look at other headlines, including the issue of governors facing lifestyle audits ahead of the elections. But that we'll do after this short break.